fellas.
Hey, Coach, how's the adjustment been like to this for you?
It's been really good. Luckily I've already coached college before, being at Cornell, being at Colgate, having a cup of coffee with University of Buffalo in 2022. So I'm very familiar with the MAC, very familiar with obviously coaching, these types of players, which will obviously now that we're going to be in the MAC, I'm kind of already used to knowing what type of talent that we're going to need to play with and win with at this level. So it's been a really good adjustment.
What does this group have that you can tell it will be successful in the MAC?
One, they're hungry. We have a saying in our room that there's always more meat on the bone. So that means there's always more that you can be doing, whether that's getting an extra yard, you can be finishing your block a second longer. They want to work. They've definitely been taking advantage of myself and my assistant coach Travis. Obviously with myself and where I'm coming from the last couple of years, and the players I've worked with, they always want to watch more film. They're always wanting to just do more things on the sideline. They've been a really good group of guys. We got two guys in the room that are head honchos. They're kind of the lead dogs right now, in T.Y. and Quan. My saying is they kind of wake up already barking. You guys have been at the practices for the last couple of days, now a couple of weeks. Those guys are really, they're chomping at the bit. They want more opportunities. They want the ball in their hands, and those are the type of guys you want in order to win football games.
What makes T.Y. so special?
I think it's probably because he's always been looked down upon. Obviously, because obviously look at his size. Being under 5'10", he's probably maybe 175 pounds, 180 pounds, 80 pounds. So when you just look at him, he doesn't look like a football player, and I can kind of relate to that. I played Division III at the College of Brockport. When people look at me, they probably don't see a football coach. They definitely see a football player. But once the ball is snapped, once we come on the football field, once we start to see guys, just take the line of scrimmage and move. Then you see a completely different player. So his mindset is the reason why he's such a good football player. And I'm really excited that he's back with us because he's been a great guy just to lean on in the room to get the guys going. And he wants more. I was talking to a couple of guys, over the last couple of days. You guys have been at practice. Quan and T.Y. have almost been taking out all the losing that has been going on in the program on the defense so far in spring ball. They've been making plays every single day, catching the ball short, running long, catching the football deep, scoring touchdowns, gaining first downs. They've been a pleasure to work with, and obviously they're going to be some people that we're going to definitely try to feature in the offense.
Yeah, is he going to be how good can he be? Can he be that focal point of one of the best offenses? I mean,
it's funny. We just had a conversation the other day about what our expectations are for him. I'll keep those conversations in-house. But I do believe he is more than just a third down receiver. One of the first things I talked about in the room in our meeting was that I'm not looking for wide receivers. I'm looking for football players. Because if you just play wide receiver, that means you're only going to be on the field for third downs when we're throwing the ball. I want guys that can be on the field first down, second down, third down, fourth down. And T.Y. has definitely been proven that he's a physical guy. He wants to get his hands dirty in the run game. Same thing with Quan. But T.Y. has definitely proven, and it's already in his DNA that he's not just a gadget player. He's someone that we can lean on, and score a lot of points.
Coach, you had a stint in the Bay Area working with the 49ers, developing practice plans and game plans. How does that, feed into your work here at UMass?
Just being with a really good organization like the San Francisco 49ers, obviously they know what they need to about winning just from being around Coach Shanahan and Coach Lynch and how they kind of go about putting the team together, the roster together. Obviously, the way that college football is transforming now with just roster decisions, NIL, all this money stuff, I'm definitely used to it. But just like even today, we were kind of down a couple of receivers, just managing my room from having worked with the Arizona Cardinals and having worked with the San Francisco 49ers. When you work with star players, even though there may be 80 plays of a total team that you're going to get in with the reps, if I'm working with, a player like Deebo Samuels or VA or Larry Fitzgerald, with the ones, you get 40 reps. Well, of those reps, your star players aren't taking 40 reps. They're really taking about 15 to 20 reps. But you got to make sure that your star players are getting the reps that they need to get in order to make sure that they're ready to go for us for spring ball and spring game next Saturday. So that experience has definitely helped me out a lot, especially today because we were down a couple guys. Tried to mix and match certain guys, so I didn't want to overwork, some of our potential starters. Because I want to make sure they're fresh and ready to go for that Saturday.
What stood out to you with UMass that you came from the NFL to Amherst?
What has stood out? For me, it's been the staff and the culture. Again, I've been a full-time coach with 2 organizations, but I've been with 5 different NFL organizations. And you would think that all the organizations would be about winning, would all stress certain things. And you go from one organization to another, it's all different. One thing I can say, I spent time with the Baltimore Ravens, and I've obviously spent time with the San Francisco 49ers, is about the culture. And starts from the top down, from the ownership to the GM to the head coach, assistant coach. Obviously here, our GM and Zoom, and obviously our head coach and Coach H. Everyone's saying the same thing. The organization, everyone has bought into what we're trying to do here, what we're trying to believe. You guys are here with our score and our sharks period. It's amazing that everyone has bought into special teams because obviously, most players and most coaches aren't there, but as a staff, the entire organization is in on special teams. That's just the great buy-in, the absolute buy-in that you need in order to change a program. So that's one of the things I've just picked up about just the staff here and the organization, and it's going to be a quick turnaround. I truly believe in that. I truly believe in Coach H, and more importantly, I believe in Coach Jake and the offense. Obviously, he's been around the people that he's worked with before. It speaks for itself.
Talked about Ty and Quan. What about Jake? What does Jake bring to the room?
Jake clearly brings what you see as soon as you get off the bus. He brings size, length, catch radius. It's taken him a couple practices to get going, but I think today, the last 2 practices have been his best practices. He's definitely feeling more comfortable in the offense. He was a little bit hampered a little early on with some soft tissue stuff, but he's starting to look like the big alpha dog that we know that he's going to be for us. Him along with TK too.
Coach, could you talk about some young guys you think are going to step up in some important situations later in the season?
Yeah, Kenyon Massey's a name to keep an eye on. He's been making plays. He's been running with the 1s and 2s. We've been doing a really good job as an entire staff of just making sure that everyone's getting equal reps. So obviously everyone sees 10 and 2 and sees the big guys. Between Kez he's a fireball. This guy kind of get him locked in sometimes, but he flashes a lot. Again, I already mentioned Kenyon, Savion. I heard that he was a little bit dinged up last year. Between those 3 guys, and obviously we got the savvy veteran and Sterling. Sterling, he'll be back here. It's a good mix of guys. They all bring something different to the table. That's what you want. When I was with the 49ers, we had really talented guys. We had weapons like the Deebo Samuels. We had a true number 1 receiver in Brandon Ayuk, and then we had a do-it-all guy in Juwan Jennings, and then we had an all-pro guy in the tight end George Kittle. So, Coach talks about you want to have a weapon, you want to have a true number 1, and you want to have a 3rd down option, and you want to have a utility guy, which is kind of like George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. So I believe we already have the pieces and the people already in the offense. Now, I'm not saying our guys are those players in the NFL, but you want to have those kind of prototypes, those body types already in the organization.
You talked about TK. Obviously, it's easy to look at him and see like the matchups he could. What else does he need to do? What does he need to get better at to take that next step forward?
Yeah, I think it's a new offense that we're implementing here. It's reps. Everyone is a different learner. Some guys can just hop on the field and do it. Some guys are visual. Some guys are walk-through reps. Some guys, need to see clips of, certain techniques. Ty's coming along. Ty and Jake, they're both technically competing for potentially the X or the Z or the W, but it's not. They're not like going at it, face to face. It's a really great brotherhood in the room. We're bringing each one along together because that's the biggest part right now. Like, we're not trying to leave anyone behind because everyone's going to need to step up. We're going to need everyone in order to have a successful season this year. But TK, he's getting a lot of reps. J-Max getting a lot of reps, and hopefully, come next Saturday, we can roll the balls out, let the guys fly around and play fast.